Hello, everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk Sarcoidosis. I'm your host, Dorothea Howard, and as you know, April is Sarcoidosis Awareness Month. Today, my show is dedicated to that, and we have such a treat and so much to look forward to during our segment. I would like to announce Sonia Rue and Q, who wrote and produced the song titled Always. And this song is especially for our fellow Sarcodonians. Stay tuned.
Symptoms like blurred vision, night sweats, muscular and joint pain, fatigue, shortness of breath. Does this sound familiar?
jumped on me so fast. I got so sick so fast. You know, I began having night sweats and blurred vision and excruciating muscular and joint pain. You know, it was just horrible. And then the worst, my voice began to fail. You know, and it was just difficult for me to even speak. I was exhausted, you know? And I said to God, I said, God, please protect my voice, because I wanted my voice. I said, God, please protect my voice and my ears that I can hear. And God, please, you know, just protect my body, oh God. And if you do it, I will glorify you. And you know what? He did. He did.
He can heal you. He can strengthen you. He can empower you to win and succeed. Full measure, clean bill of health.
It may get difficult sometimes, but if you trust God and keep the faith and adopt a lifestyle that is suitable for your healing, you can make it.
Amen.
Welcome back, everyone, to the show. I hope at the top of the hour you enjoyed Sonia Rue and Q for that lovely song, Always. Before I start, I want to reiterate once again that this is April, which is Sarcoidosis Awareness Month. And I wanted to say a special announcement for Lawrence in Savannah, who gave me this T-shirt. He had it made when I was at the conference. He realized my saying is live your life every time I tape after the show. And he paid attention and gave me a T-shirt. So thanks again, Lawrence, and also thanks to the Sarcoidosis family from the conference in Savannah this past weekend. Today, I have my Sarcoidosis sisters with me today. I have Linda Lanier, I have Dr. Barbara Cook-James, and I have Yolanda Johnson. Thank you, ladies, for being a part of this special show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. So today, you know, I think it's important to talk about the illness and when each of you were diagnosed and how that diagnosis changed your life. So, you know, who wants to start first?
I'll start first.
Okay, all right.
So I'm Yolanda, and in 2013, so I've had the disease now for about 4 years. In 2013, I was diagnosed. I started getting a lot of breakouts on my face and on my neck, somewhere on my arms, and basically the dermatologist couldn't control it. She gave me all types of creams and it just did not work. So one day she says, hey, you know, have you ever been tested for sarcoids? I actually was tested some years prior, but it was found inconclusive. And so when she tested it, she did a biopsy of my skin, and a couple days later they called me in and said, hey, you need to now have some chest work done. And that's when we found the granulomas on my lungs. It's been about 4 years now, and I went back and forth to the doctors for a few weeks, and I'm like, okay, so what does this mean? And my primary care was really instrumental in getting me to say, okay, life needs to change a little bit for you now, because I was working a lot, just somebody who's always on the go, you know, I just busy, you know, doing things, but she took me out of work for a couple of weeks until some more tests came back. And then when the other tests came back, she said, okay, I thought I was going to go back to work. She said, okay, you're going to be out of work for the next 6 months. Yeah, and where I was feeling really sluggish and fatigued and all of that. I was having some palpitations here and there. I was like, no, I can go to work. But it really was the best thing she ever did for me in making me stay out of work. Like, she knew if she did not do that, I was not going to slow down. And slowing down really helped a lot. And through that process, it made me realize that I needed to change my job, a job that I loved doing for almost 13 years. I had to make a decision to do something else and to make a career change. So it's been good.
So briefly, can you tell what type of job that is in case anyone else is
Sure,
in that same
absolutely.
industry?
So the job that I was doing for almost 13 years, I was working with juveniles. So I was a juvenile probation officer, then I became a supervisor, and then I was an assistant regional director. So I was managing multiple offices at the time that I was diagnosed. And so I was basically doing a lot, during that time. And I had just gotten married the year before. A lot of life changes. My children were becoming adults and transitioning and all of that. But I didn't realize how that was affecting me. And then with that diagnosis, at the onset, it was time for me to say, okay, this is Yolanda's time. I need to take care of Yolanda. And I was out of work for 6 months. And one of the things that I always think about is during those 6 months, I never missed a paycheck. I never missed a paycheck. And that's a good thing. But the not good thing was that I had more than 6 months of leave, which meant that I was not balancing my life like I should have, and using the leave as I could have. It's good to have that much, but it's not so good if you're not balancing your life. So during that time, I said, okay, you know what? I need to slow things down, and I love education, and I love young people, and so I decided to look for something else. So now I'm with a nonprofit in Silver Spring, and I get to travel around and train corporate legal departments. I also get to work with different agencies that serve vulnerable populations, like young people who are at risk of the juvenile justice system, young people who are aging out of foster care, pregnant and parenting teens. And so that's what I do, my full-time job. And then I have a small business that I just started, and that business is to train leaders and managers and to do leadership development training for people wherever they ask me to come.
That's what I'm
Yes,
talking about.
yes.
All right, ladies.
I think I'll go next.
All right.
In that I'm gonna, some of the things in your experience are also mine. I had a car accident in 1972 or 3, maybe. Not quite sure, it's been so long. And I went off to graduate school, University of Cincinnati, in 1975. Matriculated for 3 years and then moved to Philadelphia to do an internship. What I didn't know the whole time I was in Cincinnati is I'd never healed from the car accident. In that car accident, I ended up having my spleen removed, half of my liver. I had fractures, head injury, and never healed totally from that. I was interning in Philadelphia at a child's facility, Irvin Schwartz Institute for Children, which is no longer in existence, doing psychotherapy and psychological testing because I was working on a doctorate in clinical psych. And one day, because I wasn't driving, I was running to get a bus, and I collapsed in the street. It felt as if someone had shot me in my chest with a rifle. I woke up and found myself at Jefferson Hospital in Philadelphia. God is good. At that hospital, Dr. Harold Israel, who, if anybody's done research on sarcoidosis, you know, he was one of the, at that time, foremost specialists in the disease. I was there for a few days before he found out I was there. And I'd been told I had lung cancer. So I was laying there at 25, preparing to die. And then one day he came in, little guy, sweet little guy, wonderful little guy, came in and said to me, "Don't worry, you don't have lung cancer. You have sarcoidosis." And he says, "Sarcoidosis." And I said, "Sarco who?" And he said, "You can live with it." I said, "I'll take it."
Yes.
So there I was at 25, being given what I considered a reprieve. And from there, I was in the process of finishing graduate school, working on a thesis, took it, literally threw it in a dumpster, and said, "I'm gonna live my life. I got a reprieve. I'm living." It took me almost 20 years to finally go back to school and finish. I went back to school, I finished, I got a doctorate in clinical psychology. And during the years I had been working before going back to school, I had done social work for the city of Philadelphia, working with children and youth, foster care, very stressful work because I'd done protective services. Moved from that to community mental health, which was a lot less stressful, and helped to get people out of Byberry, the state hospital, and get them into treatment and to get them into boarding home. So I was at the cutting edge of community mental health.
Wow.
When I finally went back to school to get a doctorate, I interned again, this time at Children's Hospital Oakland. I was in charge of ICU and ER consultation. Needless to say, very stressful. I survived that year of internship without getting majorly sick. Moved back to Philadelphia. It didn't occur to me that stress was so related to a flare. And I took a job for Women Organized Against Rape. Needless to say, very high stress. I actually did psychotherapy with a 2-year-old who had been fully penetrated by an adult. This is the kind of vicarious trauma that people who have not just sarcoidosis but chronic autoimmune diseases need to take into account. That stress is not your friend. I wasn't conscious of it at the time. I went on from there to do Women's Christian Alliance. That particular job was supervising specialists in 6 elementary schools in Philadelphia, funded by the Office of Mental Health and Philadelphia Public Schools. That for me was not as stressful in that I wasn't physically having contact with the pain and suffering. I was supervising people who did. Even still, I got so ill after several years of doing that, that my primary physician said, I'm not giving you any more steroids. I'm not giving you any more prednisone. You need to quit that job. You need to take a leave and take care of your immune system. I cried in his office, but I thanked him because I knew he had my interests at heart. And I cried. I hated to leave my job. And I left and I moved back south to Virginia, where I was born, and did some recovery and then afterwards worked full-time as a psychotherapist, but never in the high stress positions that I had prior to that. I think by then I woke up. Currently, I design jewelry. I do one-of-a-kind designs. I'm with Automatic in Crystal City right now, a 6-week show. I invite people to go and check it out. I'm on the 4th floor. My number is 4510. I also do hospice vigil. I'm particularly interested in working with parents who have dying children. So one can succeed in spite of the challenge of sarcoidosis. And that's the message I wanted to communicate today.
Thank you so much. And Linda?
My story is a little different. I think I'm the baby of the bunch here today. I'm originally from Long Island, New York. Came down to go to Howard, 1976. Around 1977, I had to have major dental surgery, Washington Hospital Center. Anytime you have to have major surgery, they do a chest x-ray. So they did the chest x-ray, and the doctors came to me and they said, do you know you have sarcoidosis? I said, no. I'm 18 years old. I don't know anything about that. But they never said, you need to be under the care of a specialist. Never told me. Went ahead and had the surgery. And after that, I went on with my life. One day, I was on my way home on the bus, and every time I breathed, I was in so much pain. This is about maybe a year later. What is wrong? My arm, I couldn't move my arm. Every time I inhaled, I got off the bus, took a cab to GW Hospital, took another chest x-ray. You have sarcoidosis and you're really sick. And this time they sent me to a specialist. Go to the specialist. He gave me controlled drugs. He didn't have me on prednisone. He didn't give me an inhaler. He just was treating me for the pain. So I went through that for a number of months. And by that time, my hearing was very sensitive. My eyes were very sensitive, and I worked in a hair salon. I worked in Natural Motion on Georgia Avenue, Northwest. And there was a lady in there that worked at Howard Hospital. And she said, I heard you have sarcoidosis. She said, you need to go to Howard Hospital. She said, those doctors, they have been everywhere. They're studying sarcoidosis. She called on the phone. I went up there. Dr. Roscoe Young gave me my definite diagnosis. I had it: skin, liver, eyes, joints, I had it. He took one look at my x-ray, and I was in the hospital for over 2 weeks. Wow. Yeah. Sarcoidosis had maneuvered throughout my body, and I had gone from the first to the 4th stage in less than a year and a half. So I stayed at Howard for a number of years, and I shout out to Howard doctors because they saved my life. They really saved my life. Dr. Hackney, Dr. Young, Dr. Polk really worked with me, and up through my pregnancy. Because when I got pregnant, nobody said you shouldn't get pregnant. So I was 5 months. I come back to the hospital because I'm feeling good and happy about being pregnant. Why are you pregnant? Well, I thought of going to remission. Well, you should have told us. You don't have enough room. I never, because I was so young, I never really understood the condition of my lungs, being in the 4th stage. I had lost most of the elasticity. So I had the baby. I took 20 milligrams of prednisone every day. Came here perfect. Everything was fine. After I had the baby, it got worse. So by that time, I was working in the executive office of the mayor, D.C. for Marion Barry. And I had vision problems where I was just riding on the expressway, and all of a sudden, I can't read the signs. So I go see an ophthalmologist. I had sarcoidosis in my tear ducts. Yeah, so they gave me drops and gave me glasses, and I could see I was fine. But then I just kept getting sick, kept getting sick. So this time they did a complete workup. I went back to Howard, and I was sitting there in the bed, and the doctor came in and just leaned over on my tray, and he just said, I need to ask you a question. And I was like, okay, what? He said, how do you make it through the day? He said, how do you get up out of the bed? How do you take care of your child? He said, because I'm looking at the paperwork, your medical records, and this said you should be bedridden. You should not be walking around. And I was in shock. He said, you have to stop working. I said, when? He said, today. You have to stop working today. And I did exactly what he said. Once they discharged me, I went right to Social Security, and I was declared disabled on that day. That was in 1993. Wow. And back then, I was a grade 13, making over $55,000 a year. I went from $55,000 a year down to $16,000 a year with a child, and did not know how I was going to make it. Because when I had the child, it was a 2-person household. But once I had to retire, it was a 1-person household, because I won't go into it, but sarcoidosis, it has created marital problems for a lot of couples. And this is what happened with mine. But, I just trusted God and just moved forward. Every bill was paid. My son never went without any food. We had a good life. Now, what I did was I sat around the house because I was so busy at work. I didn't know what I was going to do. So around 98, I said, I got to do something, So I started studying, because people, they would call me and say, well, you have sarcoid? Well, what did you do? And I would give them advice. So I was studying so much, I just started finding out all this information, and I started calling up health fairs. If I knew you had a health fair, I'd call you up. I know about sarcoidosis. Can I come? That's how I got started. And then eventually, I gave a fundraiser, got enough money for my 501c3, and that's how the Sarcoidosis Awareness Network was born.
Welcome back, everyone. We want to send a special message to our caretakers today, and Q has a message for our viewers.
Hello, everyone. My name's Q, husband of Sonia Ward here to my left. She was diagnosed with sarcoidosis in 2002. And I know as a husband, seeing someone who was so energetic could adjust to many levels of robust scheduling with the greatest of ease, now succumb to shortness of breath, moments, bouts with muscular and joint pain, granulomas, redness of the eyes, hearing under attack at times, sight by night, not being able to drive, things of that nature. Everything from her throat, limbs, everything was affected. And I was like, well, God, this all came out of the left field. I really want to keep rolling to the gym like we used to, but I know now that she has the disease, it's going to take a little time for her, to get her engine running and to get up to par to where we can both do that together. And so my patience had to be reworked. Thank God, from all of my many years of being in ministry and being in church, I think I was sort of prepared at the time to, dumb down all of my testosterone and me wanting to roll when I want to roll, and just be by her side and be completely understanding of what's taking place. So to all the caretakers, be encouraged out there.
Thank you. And to all who's watching the show today, we want to say stay positive, live your life. Thank Minister Kirkland and Savannah. And as I always say, don't become a prisoner of your illness. And ladies, we all have sarcoidosis, but sarcoidosis don't have us.
Yes.
Till next time, be blessed. Sarcoidosis awareness, 365 days a year, 24/7.
Yeah.